What's up, everybody? We are going to have a good one today. We got Tracy Broussard, a close buddy of mine, who's going to come on. I'm just sitting here getting some work done before hopping on this Facebook Live. But as soon as he pops on here, we're going to have him on. It's going to be good. But I hope you guys are good. Man, had this this good Memorial Day weekend, honoring our veterans, having some good people. Man, really good. Here we go. Here's Tracy. I'm going to bring him on.
Look out, man. Coming at you, man.
What's up, talking about? What's up, brother?
Man, nothing. I'm so glad to see your pretty face this morning.
No way, man. You looking good. You like got these the space phones on right now. This is the drum headset.
Yeah, man. Look, this is top-notch stuff. You're not even ready for this, man. You can't handle this.
Are you doing a faux hop? What's happening on your head right now?
Man, so the haircut thing has been quite a challenge. I mean, luckily for you, you can, you got some things to deal with there, so you can take care of it on your own. But unfortunately, man, this is a high-dollar haircut, and so it's taken a little bit of time for my very skilled hairdresser at Sport Clips to get me in. So I was lucky enough last Saturday to get in, and man, it was the most amazing experience ever, just to get a haircut. I was kind of looking like Kramer. It was growing out. It was growing out, and it kind of looked like broccoli. Not green, of course, but it just was sprouting everywhere. So it's kind of like this. So I'm kind of getting back to normal now.
Do you walk through doors like do the real big jolt when you walk through doors?
Yeah, that reminds me one time I was being really silly in front of my nephews. This is probably 20 years ago, and I did that walking into their house. And I hit my head on the corner of the door and cut my forehead. Anything for comedy. Anything for comedy.
I did that. One time I was at a Cowboys golf tournament, and I was with one of my buddies, Keith Davis. KD, you remember him? Safety.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And he always had the shades on, man. He always had these cool shades on, but got distracted by the cheerleaders one time. And ran.
It's easy to do.
Ran right into the door, shattered his glasses, and cut open this spot right here.
Nice. Hey, that reminds me. You remember when the first incarnation of the XFL, and it was encouraged for players to date cheerleaders? That was so dumb. I mean,
the sneaking around thing is what the funny stuff is.
And you know what? Even though this whole COVID-19 thing is terrible, the worst tragedy is the second incarnation of the XFL just getting shut down. That's why it's an NFL conspiracy. I'm telling you, bro. Seriously? That's a conspiracy. Goodell is on the COVID, bro.
This guy's a master. This guy gets paid. What does he get paid? Like close to $60 million a year right now?
Yeah, but he's doing the right thing. He's not getting paid this year so that he can help. Nah, man. He pulled a Trumpy bear. He's like, I'm not getting paid. I'm gonna do
a Trumpy bear.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this draft from my basement, my fancy bunker basement. Check me out.
Like, are you sure he's not getting paid, or this might be like a Bobby Axelrod Billions kind of move where he's like, this is all under the bank. All right, we gotta do this on cash under the table.
I mean, you're an investment guy. If you're making a salary of whatever it is he's making, that's like me or you not getting paid a week. I was like, I'll just not get paid this year. I'm fine. Seriously. But you're the hero because you're doing the right thing. So.
Right. To look good. I may not be able to get any TP and keep clean for a long time, but I'll be fine.
You know what? That's whenever I started to realize that things were turning around. When I went to Kroger and I actually saw toilet paper, I'm like, yes, it's turning around, man. There's meat on the shelves.
There's meat on the shelves.
And awesome. It's not the first time you've heard that, is it?
That's what she said. That's how I got my wife, man. Come on.
What, your humor or your good looks?
Meat on the shelves.
Oh, well, that is true, and everything works. You got two beautiful kids, so there you go.
Exactly. Dude, thank you, man. Look, I don't sit here and screw around forever, but this is why I want you on too, because a lot of people don't know the guy behind the veil, I guess, right? I know you. We've been friends for a long time, but what I love is obviously like guys that come from our positions. Great stories are cool, right? It kind of attracts people in, but making it real for people. You've always been really cool with me, and hearing the story and how you got there, especially during this time. I'm interested your kind of backstory coming into your position. I already know a chunk of that, but we'll share that with the people. And then coming into, especially right now, while the gig economy shut down, and now we're starting to open it up a little bit. But how you're coming through that, because you always have this awesome attitude. But let's do this. Let's start early on. If you can recap like how you came. I know you're from the great state of Raging Cajun, Louisiana. Amazing.
Yes, sir. Go Cajuns. Go Cajuns. Yes, sir.
But growing up real quick, what was life like? And then how did you get to where you're at right now?
Man, I was always around music. My brothers played, and they had a cool band called Force in like the late 70s. And it was like Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was the coolest thing ever. And I think I gravitated to drums because that was the biggest thing on the stage. And my brother played drums, and the other brother played saxophone and was the lead singer. So I said, man, that looks pretty fun. So I just kind of picked it up, watching my brother play. And then, middle school band, high school band, marching band. I played all through that time. It was funny. My parents were very supportive. My mom was a school teacher, and I had to practice when she wasn't home. And it was so funny because when she'd get home and it was like, that's it, you're off. That's it. So I had to get my practicing in before she got home. And then when I got to college, I went to University of Louisiana. At that time, it was University of Southwestern Louisiana. Still the Cajuns, just different name. So I was majoring in public relations, thinking, I'm going to get a job. This could be cool. But I was always kind of playing music. And probably 92, I got in a country band with some guys back home. And it was an amazing experience. We opened up for a lot of Nashville artists and stuff. And we entered the True Value Country Showdown back way in the day. I think now it's called the Colgate something or other. But we got to national finals in Nashville.
Like the toothbrush? Like
yeah,
Colgate,
well.
Like the toothpaste?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I haven't had cavities since, so it's been good.
So it's
we didn't win the competition, but I have a lifetime supply of toothpaste, so it's really cool. But no, actually, we did not win. But that kind of gave me the itch. We performed at the Ryman Auditorium, which is like the mother church of country music, where the Grand Ole Opry started. And that's where our national finals were. And man, it really hit me. Nashville's kind of where I need to be. And through opening other shows with other Nashville acts, I started picking the guys in the band's brain. Like, what does it take to move? What do you have to do? And learning all this stuff, more and more guys are saying, dude, you just need to move. Just need to move to Nashville. So with a couple band breakups and some other things, August of 96, I moved to Nashville. Got a job at the Hard Rock Cafe thinking I'm not going to be there long. I'm going to be here 6 months tops. Well, that was 3 years before I got my first quote unquote break. And it was with a guy named Shane Miner. He's written some country songs for Diamond Rio and some other folks, but he gave me my first shot. And much like what you do when you graduate college, no one wants to hire you because you don't have experience, but you can't get experience because they don't want to hire you type deal. So getting that first gig with Shane Miner allowed me to meet other people in other bands and start to network. And like the band leader from the Shane Miner gig moved on to the Cindy Thompson gig. And he kind of dragged me over to that one. And then doing the Cindy Thompson gig, I met some of the guys in Blake's camp and got to meet those guys. And then a guy that I just did a random show with, he's now one of the head guys for Sennheiser microphones, Tim Moore, a good buddy of mine. He was working with Jamie O'Neill, another artist popular at the time. And I did some shows with them, and Tim and I hit it off really well. So that all those kind of led into me meeting Blake's people. And in 2003, Blake fired his drummer and was looking for one, and I was kind of in between things. So all those contacts I made from 99 on led to Blake knowing who I was and the band leader knowing who I was, Rob Bias, our band leader. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool because it wasn't an audition situation. It was just, hey, man, you want to come play with us? Cool. And so that tells the story. And here we are now, 17 years later. And it's been a pretty amazing ride, going from the very beginning, playing little small festivals, man, with maybe 200 or 300 people, to at its height, headlining arenas or playing these huge festivals. And just to see Blake's transition from what he was to what he is now. I mean, he's a superstar, and he's on The Voice. And what's been good for us is that his schedule is more tailored to he's doing The Voice most of the year. And so the touring is kind of like an accent to what he's already doing. So we don't tour a ton anymore, which is pretty cool because I get to stay home. I got 2 kids. One's 19, one's 14. And, well, my wife would get mad. 13. Don't let her baby boy. I can't age him. Can't age him yet. He's 13. But I've been home to see them grow up. So it's been really awesome. And Blake has been great. He's a great boss, taking care of us through this time. And as far as shows go, we're not scheduled really to do anything until the spring, because large crowds, man. Now, there was a time early in Blake's career, social distancing would not have been an issue because we didn't have enough people. So now it's a little bit better. So we probably won't do anything until maybe even the spring. Now, some stuff might pop up here and there, but for now, anything really, as a tour goes, really involved, I don't see anything happening until at least a year or so. So,
okay. What? So, couple things. First thing coming through that, what was? And I have my own thought process. The networking is what I heard. You network. You have a great personality. You talk to a lot of people, and have a ton of great relationships. What was something you did? So many people want to focus on what they did wrong, and we're gonna get to that in a second. But what was something big coming through all that and coming to today that maybe you still practice? It's something you did right that you're like, man, I did this thing, and this would definitely help me a lot.
I think one of the things is preparation, much like you would go into a football game or anything that you got going on, training camp, whatever. How you prepare is going to show how you're going to perform. If you don't put the work in the front end, you're not going to finish strong. And I've always kind of applied that. And that goes back to even when I was in bands in Louisiana. First thing, learning the material, being prepared, being on time. And the on-time thing I struggled with, and I still do a little bit. But, you're there to play music. You need to learn the music and put the time in. And then that's the biggest thing. They're way better drummers than me. I mean, I'm talking dudes I could call up right now that would smoke me. And I think what has helped me is just preparation, being always prepared, but also having a good attitude, wanting to be there, being happy to be there. And we all struggle with those things. It's not like it's always been rainbows and butterflies. You're going to have bad days. I think how you deal with those bad days is what really shows your character. Great days, on a perfect day, man, it's easy. But how you perform, it's kind of like what you would do in a game where you're getting your ass kicked. It's like, how am I going to perform? When you're winning, it's easy. But when there's a struggle, that really shows how am I as a person and what's my work ethic all about. So I would say the biggest thing is being prepared. There is talent. At some point, you're at a level where the talent is a given. But what separates you, I think, is being prepared and also having a good attitude working with people.
No, that's really good. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is so many people with the gig economy, people have second and third jobs. People resetting right now, doing this deal, figuring out what they're going to do next. What does that preparation look like? I want to say like quality and quantity wise, because and this is where I think a lot of people can get into, people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5 and 10. And so like that being said, leading up to those opportunities, you prepared, but what did that look? Because I feel like a lot of guys, I've seen this on the field, I've seen it in the real world now. Is people like, man, I thought I was ready, right? Well, what'd you really do? And when they actually broke down some of the hours they put in, and I'm like, well, you really didn't commit any time to it. Like, so
Yeah.
the feeling of ready and the actuality of being prepared was totally different. So, like,
Right.
speak to that for a second, and how you what did that preparation process look like for you?
So for me, what's hard is when we first met, we were touring a lot. So we were out, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 dates a year. And so we're hitting the road pretty hard. Well, now that we're not hitting the road as much, I have to work more at home. That means, which it's kind of what I've found in me in the last year or so, is bringing me back to what brought me into drums in the first place, like practicing and putting on the radio. When I was a kid, I would just put the stereo on and play whatever song came on. And then when there was a commercial, I'd go to another station, and it could have been country, could have been pop, it could have been rock or whatever. And so I find myself doing that. I'll just put my headphones on, Spotify, and go with it. Or YouTube. Like, I'm an 80s, not necessarily rock, but 80s pop guy. I love Tears for Fears, The Police, Sting, Glass Tiger, Bryan Adams. I wasn't into Rat and Poison and all that stuff. But or Simple Minds. For instance, I did this. I would put Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds, one of my favorite drumming songs on the planet. I just rank that in my top 3 drumming songs of all time, in my personal opinion. So I'll play that song. And then the next one that comes up on YouTube is something in that genre. So I'll just play that. So what I try to do is just stay prepared, practicing. And what I've had to focus in on is, I think, much like, because naturally you're a professional athlete, and my kids have trained and done things, and there's so many little things in fundamentals. There's bigger issues that come from not doing your fundamentals. I've found that I've had to get back to my fundamentals. For a drumming standpoint, that would be me putting on the metronome at 120 and playing a groove and no fills. Just locking in and not playing any fills. And if I do, it's something simple and basic. So I've kind of toned things down a bit to try to get my fundamentals back. So that's what I've kind of used this time for. Really focus in on the things that may have gotten a little squirrely playing wise, and focus in on that. And that's going to build a better foundation going forward. And it's hard to not be complacent, because I'm at a point now, honestly, I think if this all ended, I'd be very satisfied. I've played some amazing gigs, and I've checked a lot of things off and put a lot of things in the bucket list. But I could say, yeah, you know what? I did what I wanted to do, and it was an amazing time. But also, I'm not ready to end yet. So I have to continue to push myself. And a lot of the preparation also goes into, let's say there's a new song that Blake has. Well, he'll get that sent out to us, and we have to work on that. And it's a lot harder because we don't have rehearsals. Very rarely do we rehearse. Sometimes the rehearsal is the sound check. And if it goes well, he's like, yeah, let's run that tonight. And so there's a lot of that. And Blake's an amazing musician, man, if you've watched The Voice, he knows so much about music. He's not just some country artist that's kind of just floating around. That man is very musically wise. And I think being on The Voice has grown his spectrum of listening to different things, because he's got these different artists. He wouldn't be a smart coach on The Voice if he didn't know how to produce other acts in other genres. So, and he brings that into our show too. So, but there's still that element that's always been there since 2003, which is he loves 80s and 90s country. And that's one of the selling points that was, I think, for me, because I knew all that stuff. Having played in bands in college, that's what we did. So he'll just, hey, play Gone Country by Alan Jackson. Click, 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 let's go. So that's one of the elements. And then a lot of times sound check rarely will be, it's like his own songs are the afterthought. we'll mess around for an hour or so with just country covers. So sound checks are very interesting. You know, they're fun. It's not like a lot of people think a sound check is drudgery. Nah, for us, when he's up there, I think because the touring aspect, he doesn't have to do a ton of it. When he's out with us, he wants to be there versus having to tour all the time and the grind of the road gets you and you're like, oh God, here we go again. Well, I think he's spending most of his time, the quote unquote grind, I think, is the voice. So when he comes out on the road with us, it's refreshing and he's playing music again and he's happy to be there and we're happy to be there.
That's awesome. Megan's chiming in. One, I got my buddy Sean in Jersey talking trash right now.
Okay, because all the cowboy stuff?
Oh, yeah. And then Megan's sitting there, says she wants a ticket to sound check.
That's the best one, and I can afford those. Those are cheap.
Man, it's funny because that totally reminds me of when you come into the league, when you come into the NFL, even if you get picked up with a team or not, maybe you're just coming in for a tryout, coach is up on the board, you run through a few different plays, you run through all the calls associated, the protections, the schemes, whatever's involved, and you have to get, I mean, at least 90% of that now before they're going to keep. And if you don't get it with like in a 2-day time, if they picked you up on a team, you haven't gotten it within a 2-day time period, they'll cut you right away. And so it's similar because you have to come in mentally sharp and already practiced. And so it's funny because I'm reading the book Think and Grow Rich right now, which is this older title. I forget the author, but they were going through how a lot of leaders in the industries or industry leaders love new employees or people that come into the business who like learning from home. Basically, people who are willing to sacrifice their time for their craft, personal time, instead of going party, getting off 9 to 5, and watching Netflix binge or whatever, which I still love to do. But they're willing to sacrifice to get to the end goal. And so that kind of initiative goes a whole long way because those people typically are self-starters, sustainers, and can help lead others in that direction. And so that's a huge deal. But I mean, from what I see where you're at, just coming in and jumping into a gig.
Yeah, and I guess and for me, probably there's a different verbiage, but there's practicing and rehearsing. So when you're at rehearsal, you're not practicing, you practiced at home, so practice at home and you rehearse with the band. There's no time for practicing while you're rehearsing. So there's two separate things. So that'd be like you studying your playbook or working on your fundamentals or whatever. Well, you don't have time to work on that when you're at practice. You have to already know that. So the practice isn't just, oh, I'll learn it. No. You need to learn that before and then apply it. And that gets you ahead because it's easier to be able, if you know something inside and out, to apply it versus learning on the fly. You're never going to, like you guys, you'd have a game plan and you'd have it rehearsed and you have it down. And then, I don't know, 5 plays in, you're like, okay, we're not doing that. And you're like, we got to scrap the whole thing. Oh, yeah.
That's odd. Well, okay. So let's go now. Everybody likes talking about the bad, but I want to come from it from like a learning standpoint for people that maybe haven't made a mistake, but or haven't made a similar type move, or they're trying to come up into a new industry, or maybe even a similar industry, but coming up in a new place. What's a decision you look back on that you're like, man, I should have done that totally changed after you went through? How did you feel? What happened? How did you feel? How did it make you feel? And then how did it change you?
So there was a time where I was considering, I'd only been in Nashville maybe a year, and I hadn't gotten the audition. I got the audition that I thought was going to get me on the road, but it was one of those where you got the gig, you got the audition, and they were telling me, well, you know what? You did a really good job, but there's just someone there that has more experience. And that kind of hurt me. I was like, once again, how can I get the experience if you don't give me the job? So And I went through, well, do I keep doing this? And part of me, my mom was like, just come home. I'm thinking, it's only one audition. I'm going to keep doing this. But as I found it harder and harder to get auditions, because it's back then, it wasn't like you just went to a board somewhere, like at the musicians union, and looked for auditions. You had to call management companies, and I literally call, because social media, of course, didn't exist. So I remember one time I just blanket faxed every management company in Nashville my resume. I just sent faxes, man. And I think I maybe got a couple callbacks from that, but it was a turning point. I was working at the Hard Rock, and I had a chance to go back to Louisiana and just play with a band and maybe have another shot at Nashville, which was weird because this band was backing up an artist that had a record deal, but it was real sketchy, like real sketchy. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, if I go back and this artist doesn't do anything, at least I'll be home. I gave Nashville a shot. You know, I'd kind of told myself, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm moving back. Well, the guy that I was going to play for, he was not real pleased with my back and forth because I kind of put him off. And he said, look, man, either in or you're out. We've got a drummer here who's going to stay. And he was a local guy. And I think he told me, we're just going to stay with the guy we have. So in my mind, I decided I'm moving back. But things told me not to, which you talk about a higher power. I think that was definitely one of those things that happened. So there were situations where that could have changed things, but it was out of my control. And I guess another thing that I could have done when I moved to Nashville, my job out of college was working for a tourist convention and visitors bureau in Lafayette, Louisiana. Well, I had a contact in Nashville, and I could have worked in the tourism industry in Nashville. The only thing that would have changed that was that it would have been a steadier job versus working at the Hard Rock for hourly wage. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to be here long anyway. So I'm just going to do this crappy job, which turned out to be 3 years. Not that that was a huge deal. I'm lucky that there's some things that I've done that most of what I've done, I don't really regret because I've kind of embraced it's all part of the journey. So I try not to beat myself up. I think I beat myself up more for the little things throughout the day than major things that I've done because I just try to keep my faith and realize that where you are is where you're supposed to be and trust in that and not second guess anything. So as far as a long-winded answer to your question, I think there's been some things those couple of things where I would maybe have done different, but man, I feel very blessed that most of what I've done, I don't regret. So I'm happy about that. I was fired by Blake once, like after a year into the gig, and I was a complete jerk. So maybe I could have been a little bit better, but that also taught me a lesson because I came into the gig really cocky. And I'm sure you've seen dudes like that come into the league that are like, oh man, I'm the bomb. I went to this blah, blah, blah D1 school. I'm a 5-star, and he flames out. And you got a dude like Brady or Romo that just, do great things. Right. Well, yeah. So, we won't get into that debate. But so I think I kind of came in like that cocky rookie, like I knew it all, and I got knocked down a couple pegs, and I needed that. I really did. I would say that's a definite turning point in my career. I had to realize, dude, you're not bigger than the group. You're not bigger than the team. You're not bigger than the organization. We're all a team. And what we've talked about a lot is drummers and bass players are a lot like offensive linemen because we're not out there getting the ladies. We're laying it down. We're letting the lead singer, he's like our quarterback. Let him do his thing, And if we're doing our job as far as the band and the bass player and the drummer and the rhythm section, that allows everybody else to do their thing. It's not our chance to shine. And that's another thing I had to learn being a drummer. If you want to be, there's a term called lead drums. That means like, you just play. It's all about me. Exactly. I've embraced the role of just being the drummer, laying it down, making sure it's comfortable for everyone. And with Blake not being there a lot as far as doing a ton of gigs, I got to be consistent every gig it may be 3 months or it could be a month or in this situation. Who knows how long it'll be for the next gig, but I have to make sure that he's just as comfortable on the gig that we're doing as he was the last one we did. And kind of like when you have a crappy game, you can't redeem yourself until the next game. You got a week. So for us, if we don't have a gig for 2 months and I really crap the bed the last gig, that's going to stick with me a long time. So I got to be ready the next gig and make sure that I knock it out of the park at that point. So,
man, that's really big. That's cool. What I really liked about that too, you're talking about was one, you kind of have the short memory, right? You know, it's part of the process. And actually that's a big point in of itself right there is when you know mistakes are going to be made, you're expecting them, right? You're not like, I'm going to make one this time, but I'm expecting hard times to hit me at some point, whether it's a mistake by me or someone else or something I can't control or whatever. When you preemptively expect that, you're prepared for when it shows up. And I got my buddy Sean's texting me separate on this thing, but and that's a huge deal. A lot of people get blown off their feet. You know, when we have wintertime comes, and you know everybody's good when the economy's rolling. Everybody's good when you're making the money you want. Everybody's good when everything's flowing the right way and life's on top. You're winning, but when a big loss comes and blows you off the horse, you know what happens, right? And that's what you're talking about, the character shows, and that's where a lot of people I think falter. But that's really cool because, and you sounded like your answer to that was your faith.
Yeah, I mean that's been with me, man, and I've leaned on it a lot. And family's a huge deal too. Having a solid family, you know that as well as I do, because you've seen some adversity in your life and career also, and having someone that loves you regardless of what you do is a huge thing. You know, I admire you for what you went through. You know, your identity was a pro football player. That was your deal. And that got taken away. So you got to recreate yourself. But, you know, I'm sure Megan wasn't like, oh, you suck. You don't play football anymore. You're not cool. And I'm sure that you've experienced a lot of those tag along chicks, man, that a dude loses something and they're gone. And then your identity's wrapped up in what your job is. Well, what if that goes away? Who are you? And I've kind of had to think about that too, because at some point this will end. It doesn't go on forever. And, you know, I know for a fact that if I had to work at Lowe's or Home Depot, my wife would still love me, you know. And she'd probably be glad because I'd be home not as much. So it'd probably be a good thing.
Dude, this is awesome. We're going over a little bit. I want to respect your time.
No worries, man. No worries. I'm having a blast. Hey, but yeah. I mean, look at these gyms. Look at that.
Yeah. Yes.
Look at those arms.
Beautiful. Look at it. It's so healthy.
And then look, like just scouting the line. Yeah. Well, what are we going to do there?
Look, I see there's no scarring on those arms or the body at all right yet.
Fresh and pure as the driven snow.
Dude, well, like, do this. Let's kind of wrap it up a little bit. I mean, I love you to death, but
same here, man.
What is something? I mean, you got something on your mind that's kind of like been sitting on. You got something for people watching. We got a good amount of people watching for this for a while now, but you got something. It's like a bit of encouragement for them, especially during times, or like maybe something that's helped you out practically right now with everything shut down, or what's something that's like if you could talk to me, if I'm going through, I'm struggling through this right now, what's something you would bring to the table?
I think what I would bring to the supposed stay-at-home time is to make the most of the time. We are so busy all the time. And I think this is the Control, Alt, Delete, Reset that we may have needed because, man, we're just all going as a society, as a human race. And what I think, the thing I've grasped from this whole deal is family. Going back to that, my daughter, her school, they were done in March. And then my son, they were done with school. So it's my kids and my wife and me together. And the only kind of break is me going out to get groceries or whatever. So we've been together a lot. And I think it's getting things down to the basics, not necessarily worrying about all the other stuff going on, and solidifying that foundation of family. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've pulled from this. And anyone that's struggling at this point, and I get it because I have struggled too, what I found is just do one positive thing. You know, as hard as it might be to get out of bed and organize the garage or make a phone call or check in with someone or go out and go for a run or just walk out and get the mail, get some fresh air. Just make sure that that time that you have is precious. And hopefully when this gets back to normal, we're a better society because of it. You know, I'm getting all kind of out there, but you know, we've seen, I know you have too, people take different sides of this whole deal. It's a horrible virus, but yet there are sides on it. And it's not just as a human race. We can't even come together when people are sick. Why are they sick and whatever? So I just really hope that we can all come together. And the biggest thing is at this time, find a little thing to do. And that's what I've done. It could be, like I said, maybe cutting the grass or going outside, or because you don't feel motivated, honestly, to do anything. And I think creative people, kind of like what you're doing, what I started doing too. I'm doing a talk with my buddy Jeff Stone. We're going on at 1 today. We just started meeting once a week, and I need to get you on it. We need to get you on there. But it's just like have some purpose. Like we're not going to work. We're not going to our jobs. We're working from home. But just find something to like a benchmark. You know, it could be just washing your car or getting the kids, man. I remember one of the first times I got the kids to help me wash my car. I'm a control freak and I love washing vehicles. And as a parent, if you have kids, just let them screw it up. Just let them. Because you don't want to ruin a beautiful moment by being a control freak. It's a car. It's washed. It's not going to be perfect. Guess what? It's going to rain in 2 days and you can wash it again. Both kids here, they've started cooking. And it drives me crazy, and so does my wife, because we want to be there. No, you flip the sausage like this, but you know what? You got to let them burn it. You know, let them burn it. They're going to destroy the stove, but guess what? If you didn't burn the house down, you can clean the stove. It's cool. So let's just use this time to let things go and kind of focus in and be together as a family. And then if you might be away from your family, just find those things that make you feel good. Do 10 push-ups. I don't know, something, you know.
But one of my favorite speeches came from, I forget his name, but it was the Navy SEAL that spoke down for University of Texas, Austin. And a lot of you go YouTube it, you can look it up, but it was the make your bed speech. One of his points was make your bed first thing you get up in the morning.
Oh, gotcha.
Because you get something done right away and it gets the ball rolling for the day. And he goes, even if by the end of the day it's all turned to garbage, you get to go to bed in a nicely clean made bed.
I like that. You start and finish the day the same. That's pretty good, man. I'm going to go make my bed right now. I'll be right back.
Dude, I love you. Thank you so much.
I love you too, man.
But I can't wait to give you a big hug.
Let's do a virtual hug. I'm patting your back. I'm rubbing your head right now. Yeah, there we go.
That's so nice.
I miss you, man, and I'm proud of you. I'm always proud of you, and I admire you because it's tough. And to go from, like we talked about, your identity is one thing and to something else, and you're a great family man. And, dude, you'll achieve anything you want, and you inspire me. So just to tell you that.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man.
Give Maria some love and the kids some love.
Same here. Yeah.
And we'll see you later, brother.
Yes, sir. Take care and hope to see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.